Alright.
Hello, everyone.
Oh no, I did the
Duncan
alright
messed
thing
up our
again.
audio sync,
Shit.
so this will be a fun episode for everyone.
No, that's fine. I'll edit it. So, Jamie, before we get into the film, you know how we've started now a tradition of we've now started a tradition of a new soft drink every episode for me.
Okay, no one told me
So,
this, but
so I have here. I'm not gonna video record myself. I'll just give you the voice opinion on it. I've got here Lucozade Revive Orange and Passion Fruit with B vitamins to help reduce tiredness. All right, are you hearing this opening here?
yeah, I've never heard of Lucozade Revive. What makes it different
It's new.
from Lucozade Sport, or Lucozade Energy? Lucozade Energy already existed, right?
Yeah, it's new, Jamie. I don't know. I guess it's meant to revive you rather than like a. Okay, here we go. Naturally inspired uplift, like a breath of fresh air or a splash of water to the face. Lucozade Revive is a perfect, revitalizing little lift right when you need it. Take a break and awaken your taste buds with this lightly sparkling, naturally fruity drink that contains B vitamins so you can feel refreshed and get back to doing what you do best. So to me, that sounds a lot like just normal Lucozade. I'm pretty sure that's a pretty similar
Both
thing.
normal Lucozade and the other two types of Lucozade, which are already also energy drinks.
Well,
Yes.
okay, maybe so this maybe is more natural or anyway, I'm going to take a sip of it now. You ready?
Cool. I'm just having tea.
Okay, so it's a lot less flavorful than other Lucozade.
Yeah.
What you know when you get what's the brand of sort of sparkling water? Is it Ice or something like that? That's like flavored sparkling water.
Oh well, Volvic do a
Okay.
flavored one with like strawberry.
I think it's a bit stronger than that than sparkling water, but there's a brand. I think it's Ice.
Oh, do you mean LaCroix? Maybe.
No, I mean Ice. But that might be the same thing. So it's colored, it's flavored. You know, it's not just like water. It's not just like strawberry water that tastes a bit like it. It's definitely a juice drink, but it's definitely more sort of watery than other ones. But you know what? Tastes fine. Tastes fine. It'll do. It'll do. I'd rather have more Lucozade.
Have you ever drunk? Did you ever drink? Sorry, because it doesn't exist anymore. The Coca Life, the one with the green bottle.
No, I'm not a big Coca-Cola man.
That was awful. Genuinely, I think it kind of came and went within a month because it was just so terrible.
Yeah.
I was going with the natural sugars rather than regular natural
Right.
sugar.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, that's the soft drink talk then. Do you know, I've realised that we've not told listeners what this podcast is about for the last few episodes. And we might have new listeners. I mean, I think any of them would have
structurally
left at
unlikely.
this point. Would have left at this point after clicking on a video about Catch-22 and having to listen to us talk about soft drinks for a few minutes. But we watched films that came out 50 years ago this week.
Yeah.
Although we messed up the date this week.
Did we? No, we didn't.
It came out on Sunday. It came out on the 21st of June. Okay, it came out on 21st of June, which I believe is a Sunday.
Yeah, it's on like the barrier of our acceptable dates. But that's fine.
I don't know how any of us missed this. Any of us missed this. How we missed this, or any of the crew. Do you remember first episode we had the crew? What was her name? Lisa.
Yeah, Lisa. She was very important.
Lisa fucked up this week. I think we should.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we should fire Lisa.
It says 24th of June, you fool, USA.
I looked it up and it did not say that. Catch-22 19.
On IMDb, it says 24th of June.
What the fuck was that noise?
That was a motorbike.
Right. Does that go past? Does that go past every time? I feel like that's been the last few episodes.
He just likes to go around the block, you know.
Right. Okay. Well, I'm looking on Wikipedia. I'm looking on Wikipedia, the great movie database in the sky. I'm looking on Wikipedia and it says 21st of June. So.
Well, it says 24th on IMDb.
Absolutely fine. Not a problem. Not a problem.
Yeah. That's sort of true. That is sort of true. But on the other hand, I do want to be right. So I'm just gonna quickly look through again to see if they've got a fucking.
Wow, your microphone's really fucking up in my ear, by the way. Do you want to switch to 4G, or should we just stick with it? I mean, I'm assuming it'll be fine for the podcast listeners.
Yeah, it's gotten better, I think.
What?
I think it's gotten better.
Okay, if you say so, bro. So yeah, we're doing Catch-22, 1970. Came out Sunday, June the 21st. Maybe that was the premiere, man. Maybe that was the premiere, and then it was released a few days later. Anyway,
Yeah.
in some meaning of the word, it came out this week, so we'll go with that. So we'll start off. Well, I was going to say we'll start off with the historical context, but I don't really have any this week. The UK charts are pretty much exactly the same. Amazingly, Back Home is still in the charts, so we can make that
They'll
joke
never
for
die.
what's this? Is this the 7th week in a row where we've talked about the England World Cup squad's song Back Home?
Certainly, this is the 7th. This is the 7th episode. This is the 7th week in a row. It's never not been back home the entire time we've been doing
exactly. They have been sent back home, so it must go out the charts soon, because otherwise I'm gonna lose it. The Wonder of You by Elvis Presley is now in the US charts, which is
didn't
exciting.
know Elvis was. I guess when did Elvis make his comeback? Was this about now?
I don't know. I don't know, to be honest. It might have been a re-release. I mean, he's got so many songs. I don't know when any of them came out in relation to other ones, because he had a pretty long career. So it might be a re-release or something. But anyway, I noticed that was in the charts. So yeah, and that's about it. I clicked for all the magazines, and I probably could have looked in more detail at stuff, but there's nothing jumped out at me. They're still talking about Vietnam. They're still talking about this and that. There was nothing. I'm sure stuff happened. I'm sure if we really looked into it, stuff happened. But it's about the film, not the historical context. So, Jimmy, are you there?
I guess.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm there.
Okay, cool. You dropped out for a second.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay, so where do you want to try and do your plot thing? I mean, it's not really a film you can do that with, is it?
No. Catch-22 is about some soldiers on an island in the Mediterranean in World War II.
Yeah.
Our hero, or anti-hero, if you're going to be all douchey about it, is Captain Yossarian.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to fly anymore, but the relevant colonel keeps raising the number of missions that you need to do before you can sort of go on rotation, get out of it for a bit. So he wants to be declared crazy, but the doctor's like, nah, I can't call you crazy if you're wanting to stay on the ground, because that shows you're sane. The only way you'd be crazy is if you were wanting to keep flying. And then he goes, that's a Catch-22.
And then Yossarian says to him, like, so that the guys that are up there flying are crazy. And the guy's like, yeah, they are. And then he says, so if they came to you, and they're crazy, so if they came to you and asked you to stop flying, that's all they need to do. And he was like, yes, but also no, because then they would not be crazy. Because if they were... Yeah, so that is the Catch-22. But I mean, Catch-22 is used throughout the film to describe.
I was about to say that basically every. I'm not sure if it is literally every. The film's basically divided into like shorts, as it were.
Yeah.
Revolving around the same group of characters. Usually the Yossarian, but there's a fair few without him. And I think most, maybe not all, but most of the scenes at the very least revolve around some sort of Catch-22.
Or I think what people tend to describe it is a circular conversation.
Yes.
That's the center of every scene, and some of them have more importance than others, but that's kind of the key thing that brings it together, is these circular conversations of like logic on top of logic on top of logic about these like mundane things or about serious things. It doesn't matter. That's kind of how it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very and so like the general sense that the film's trying to promote is this idea of sort of the war and the environment not making any sense as characters or able to hold on to their sanity.
Yeah.
It's a very satirical novel. I'm not sure. Maybe we wouldn't go to say it's a comic novel, but it's definitely every scene's like ridiculous and about sort of like showing. It's about being satirical, as it were.
Yeah. So I guess we should probably say that first. It's based on a book.
Yes.
Which you've not read.
I'm going to be honest, Duncan. I was kind of assuming most people would come into this knowing that.
No. I wasn't saying that for the sort of benefit of people that didn't know it. I was saying that it's going to be relevant to our discussions. Because I've read the book and you have not.
Yeah, I was about to say this is the first film we've done that either of us has any like prior experience with.
So and there was also a TV show made last year.
I didn't know it was last year.
Yeah, or 2 years ago. Last year, I think it was. For Hulu, and I believe it was on Channel 4 here in the UK.
Yeah, that would make sense.
I'll go into more detail about what I think is like the best thing, but the TV show is fantastic. I
Cool.
would highly recommend the
Yeah.
TV show.
I was,
Um,
I Yeah, I haven't read the book, so this
yeah,
was my first exposure to
yeah,
Catch-22. I will say it's very, very obvious immediately that that is what it's coming from. It's got a very the way the dialogue is written is in a very
yeah,
sort of literary way, and where it's very sort of clever and happy with its own cleverness, as it were.
yeah.
Um,
Which and the thing about that is that works very well in the book, but
yeah,
watching this film, it feels very unnatural. The way that they
yeah,
say things, you can kind of tell that. I read something that said that the actors didn't really take on the parts necessarily. They just kind of read out the lines as themselves, you know,
yeah.
like they
One
didn't
of the
really.
things about a lot of books, particularly of that time, obviously, and is that sort of every character in them is very, very intelligent in a way, even if like
Yeah,
obviously got different worldviews and stuff.
yeah,
Which in a book is very cool because like the prose itself will be written in that style, the characters are
yeah,
speaking in that style, and like it's the author's view that you're sort of submerging yourself in.
yeah,
But obviously in a film it starts to get a bit weird, particularly when a lot of these scenes have admittedly some notable exceptions. There's not actually a lot happening in them.
yeah,
It's like visually, it's just people standing around and having a very clever conversation.
yeah,
So I will say that, like, personally, my takeaway from this film was like, wow, I really wish I had read the book for this because it looks like it'd be good.
yeah. So
Um,
it's interesting that you say that because I actually so the film is told out of order but
mm,
vaguely in order at the same time.
yeah.
The book is told entirely out of order,
Okay.
and
So did they like reshuffle a lot of stuff, as it were?
they didn't reshuffle a lot of stuff, but the book has a lot more detail in it,
Mm,
and there was a fair bit of reshuffling, and the way the book kind of works is the characters will refer to stuff that has happened, but you won't have heard about it yet. So, for instance,
mm,
there's a scene where Milo bombs the airfield in the film,
yeah.
and in the film that happens towards the end.
Mm.
But
That's the climax, basically.
in the book that also happens sort of towards the end. But you've heard
Mm.
about the bombing of the airfield or when Milo bombed the airfield. They talked about that like 20 times before it happens, and there's a lot of
Okay.
examples of that in the book. So actually, I I watched a TV show first, which is interestingly is told entirely chronologically.
Mm.
Literally, I don't think there's any there might be a couple flashbacks, flash forwards, but it's basically told
Mm.
entirely chronologically. Now the thing with that is you do
It's kind of
lose
surprising,
some of
actually.
the nice bits of references and like the slow building of the plot, but it actually
Yeah.
works. It actually works really well if you watch the TV show, um, and understand all the events that happen in the TV show, and then read the book. You kind of know what they're referring to, and in a way you lose the magic of like stuff being slowly revealed, but in another way it makes the book a lot more approachable because I know a lot of people start the book and then like give up on it
Mm.
because it's just like I don't know, you're reading it and you're like trying to remember if it's supposed to be something you know or you're trying to work out what's going on or what they're referring to, and I've heard people say that that's not very approachable. Whereas watching
Mm.
the TV show first and just having an idea of what events happen, what characters are like, then I feel like I appreciated the book a lot more.
Yeah. I
You know?
feel with a TV show though, that's kind of well suited to having a bunch of shorts out of order, as it were, because you could just have the episodes
Yeah,
be the shorts, and
yeah, you
not
could
to
do it.
massively like reduce the cultural the classiness of this conversation. But there's an anime series called The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya, right?
Right, right.
And like all the episodes in that initially when they were broadcast were shown out of chronological order.
Mhm.
So like you could like piece together like a proper timeline and stuff
Yeah,
from the episodes, but they were broadcast. Like for example, there's like a two-parter that's a mystery on an island, except
yeah.
that when those parts were shown as like part one, then a completely unrelated episode, then part two,
Okay.
for example,
Yeah.
and then like the last episode of the first season is like one of the earliest things that happens in it. But then
Right.
on the DVD release of those episodes, they rejigged them all to be in chronological order, and like any like official release of them now has them in chronological order. So you gotta like look up the
Oh,
original order online if you want to watch it that way. And it's a real
right.
shame. It really loses something when you've taken away the magic of that. I think,
Yeah.
particularly in the case of this film as well, well, not this film, this story. I think
Yeah.
having the episodes out of chronological order is, important for creating the mood, as it were. Because you're
Yeah.
supposed to be a bit confused,
You are.
to
Yeah, I
mirror
don't
the
know. It's
characters.
it's an interesting one. I mean, I feel like if the TV show didn't work or wasn't good, that would definitely be one of the things that you'd be able to say about it. But I don't know. I just really enjoyed the TV show. Um,
Did you watch the Witcher TV show? Not to
no.
because there
No.
was this because that's also shown out of chronological order, except there's
Right.
like three plot lines that are like shown simultaneously that take place in
Okay.
different eras. But
Yeah.
then they were talking about how that was really badly received by audiences. So from now on, well, the next seasons and stuff, they're going to make it chronological to make it easier to understand.
Yeah. No, do you know, I feel like telling stuff out of chronology does work, but I feel like
Yeah.
it works better in the book. So, in the book they can
Mm.
kind of refer back to things, but in a TV show, I just feel like it can be a bit weird if they're referring to stuff. Because, I mean, the whole thing about
Mm.
TV and film, and books as well to an extent, is you're supposed to show, not tell, right? That's like the classic thing.
Yeah.
But you can't really, if you don't want to, if you don't, in the book you can write and say so and so happened, and then not get into any detail about it. But in a film or a TV show, if you're trying to show something without,
Mm.
you don't want them just saying stuff because audiences are expecting to have something to see. I mean, as you say, a lot of this film's just conversations and stuff, so people
Mm.
really want to see stuff. And if you tell it out of order,
I
I don't
guess.
know.
I think just speaking personally, I really like non-chronological storytelling. 'Cause it's like a little
Yeah.
puzzle you can solve and stuff. But I suppose on the other hand, if you're showing it in film, it's better for like something that's a lot slower paced.
Well, yeah. So
Like you have time to figure stuff out. I
yeah,
don't know.
I don't think it really works in the film because it's the amount. I mean, the book is a
Mm.
long book. I can't remember how many
Yeah.
pages it is, but it's a chunky book, so it can kind of get away with that. But the film,
Yeah.
to try and do a film out of chronological order, you really need to think about every specific thing you're showing.
Yeah.
Because the book has loads of subplots in it that are just not in this film at
Mm.
all.
Yeah.
Like there's a subplot where they've made up a name to sign letters with of like someone that doesn't exist or someone that's dead or
Mm.
something like that. I can't remember exactly what it is. And there's like a couple of them using this name and the signature to sign off on all sorts of stuff. And that's like a
Mm.
whole subplot that then, whilst a minor subplot, it fits into other stuff. And
Yeah.
there's another subplot where, or not a plot actually, a plot point where Yossarian decides that he's going to try and fly as many missions as possible to get up to the limit because
Mhm.
so the limit's 80 and
Yeah.
the idea is that before anyone reaches 80 he's going to raise the limit again, but if
Mhm.
Yossarian just gets on every single plane that leaves, he'll get up to the mission count and then get out of the
Yeah.
get to go home. So that's another
Mm.
whole thing that was missed out from this film. And I feel
Yeah.
like the book has so many plots and subplots and characters and stuff that kind of really add to creating the whole world.
Yeah. That
That
makes sense.
I don't know, the film kind of felt like it missed out on those because it kind of
Mhm.
picked and chose. So if you're making a film from a book, you can pick and choose what you're putting in it. But when
Yeah.
that book has so many references between events and between characters and going back and forth, it
Yeah.
must be hard to pick and choose. And I feel like maybe that's a reason why the TV show is better in my opinion,
Yeah.
because it's got that time. It's got that time to fit in all the subplots and fit in all the characters and
So just
whatever.
betraying your own opinion there, as it were, you would say you preferred the TV show.
Yeah, by miles. I mean,
Oh, okay.
there's a variety of reasons why.
Okay. Fair.
Um.
Um.
So I mean,
Well,
another reason is the TV show's a lot more sort of stylized, and it's filmed in a lot more.
Okay.
It's a lot like brighter, because this film's almost
Yeah.
dystopian. Everything's like
Yeah.
very grey or brown beige, and
Yeah.
the TV show's really light and bright, and I feel like that fits in more with the satire and the sort of.
I mean,
comedy and
getting
stuff.
back to what we were saying 2 weeks ago about westerns, the thing about deserts is that they're not very visually interesting a lot of the time.
Yeah, well, they can be though. I mean,
Yeah, I mean that
you've
was the
got-
thing. Like Lawrence of Arabia and stuff,
Yeah.
obviously, were all desert films, and like they're all great. But it is also very, very easy when you're dealing with a flat, what is like by definition a flat, featureless landscape,
Yeah.
to have it be a bit boring.
Yeah. So I guess the thing. This is another thing I read. I'm pretty sure I read all this shit that I'm saying on Wikipedia. Not my opinions, but these little facts. was that a lot of people felt that this was. Oh no, I think it was the Roger Ebert review of this film.
Oh yeah.
A lot of the film is kind of shot like a war is hell film, you know,
Mm.
and like the classic everything's dark and grey and stuff. When actually that's
Yeah.
not what the book's about. The book's about like the general struggle to survive, and it's just told within the context of the war. But
Okay.
yeah, if that makes sense. I don't know. It feels like it was kind of the whole dystopian thing kind of didn't fit in with the humor and stuff.
Okay.
I don't know.
I think I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's still a pretty clear theme. Like, war is bad is very clearly in the text.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not so much war is bad in terms of like having to live in the desert and stuff. It's the fact that you might get killed at any moment.
Yeah.
And that's the key thing of the book and the TV show and stuff that doesn't necessarily translate as well to this one, I don't think, because it doesn't have like the humor. The humor just feels so kind of at odds with the way it's shot, and that's the same thing we were saying with the way the people are acting, where the way they say the lines and stuff. Is the lines are obviously sort of humorous, these like intelligent little points, humorous lines, but then the actors are so realistic and stiff, and then
I'm gonna disagree with you there. I like the way
Right?
this one's acted. I think it works well, having them mostly play it straight, as it were. I think it's a good contrast in terms of like the dialogue and what's going on. I would say like I can't remember his name. The guy who plays Captain Yosseri is probably my least favorite, but I think that's just because he's
he sucks. The guy in the TV show is so good. I'm just gonna keep like selling this TV show to everyone because it's great.
But I think everyone else does a pretty good job. The guy who plays Milo is pretty good up until the end.
He's pretty good.
I think at the end he lets the mask, not even a mask, but he sort of. I think what works about Milo as a villain is that he's very cheerful and he really does not see what he's doing as being wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
But towards the end in the film, his performance sort of lets us sort of.
I absolutely agree.
Or at least something else slip in there. Whereas I wish if it just kept it to the sort of cheerfulness, I think that would have worked a lot better.
Which is another thing that the TV show does.
Yeah. But other than that, I thought the guy who played what's the name of the guy who dies? The 20-year-old.
Dobbs. No.
No, Nately.
Nately.
But Nately, Martin Sheen's in this. He does a pretty good job. Although he doesn't get a lot of scenes. I'm guessing his character was more major in the book.
Yeah, I think so.
Orson Welles is in it. He does a good job.
Yeah. Well, he does pretty good.
I like it.
The thing is, in the book, I feel like a lot of the characters are more major.
Yeah.
Like they've definitely. So, for instance, Major is a bigger character in the book, whereas in this he features in like one scene.
Slightly weird thing is that just because like they only had like a limited selection, I assume most of the shorts they chose sort of feed together into like the overall plot, as it were, with the glaring exception of the major stuff, which is weirdly isolated.
In the book and the TV show, there's a whole background. So Major's dad the Major was born and his surname is Major, obviously. And then his dad thought it'd be funny to change the birth certificate so that his first name and middle name are also Major. Which is why he gets made a Major. So he's called Major. And then the thing about him, the whole catch of him only being people can only go see him when he's not in. That's his whole thing.
That's another Catch-22 kid.
That's another Catch-22. So in the book, in the TV show, that happens several times. Where like Yossarian tries to see him and the Colonel tries to see him and all this kind of stuff. And also Yossarian knows Major personally. So he begs him, like you can get me out of here, or you literally just have to sign this one thing. And I can't remember why he doesn't sign it, but there's a whole thing with that. So characters like that they chose to include, but only for these very brief scenes. Every character that you see in it basically is a major character in the book.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we can, while we're talking about characters, we can talk about the cast if you want.
Yeah.
So
yeah, sure.
The guy that played Yossarian, I didn't really know. I didn't think he did that good a job, to be honest. I thought
it was serviceable.
He was
That's
serviceable, but
views. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I'm always going to compare it to the TV show, which is cast like so well. So he
like
was.
I say, going off it as a sort of neutral, impartial observer, I would say he was fine.
Yeah, he was okay. So he was in Going in Style with Morgan Freeman and friend of the podcast Michael Caine.
Nice.
And then the guy that played Cathcart was Martin Balsam, who was in 12 Angry Men, along with other friend of the podcast Henry Fonda.
Of course.
And he was also in Tora Tora Tora, which I think we'll watch.
Oh,
at some
I
point.
thought that came out earlier in the year, because
I think there was like another release date that we can take advantage of.
Like the two, like when you look at like 1970, the two big film releases of this year are the MASH film and Tora Tora Tora, and we definitely missed MASH.
We missed MASH, yeah. I think Tora 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 maybe had its initial release we've missed, but I'm pretty sure there was some loophole that I found because I'm really keen.
We'll figure out some way to.
It looks interesting.
Stick it in there.
The guy that played Nately, do you know who that was?
Nately? Oh no, I didn't know.
It was Art Garfunkel of Simon and Garfunkel.
Oh yeah, of course.
And he cites this film as a reason that their band broke up.
Huh.
Because they both
wasn't that bad, eh?
They both had roles in it, both Simon and Garfunkel, but then they cut Simon's role.
Okay. I was about to say I didn't notice Simon.
He was not very happy. No, he got cut, and also Garfunkel was massively delayed in recording their album because he was filming this, and they were meant to be recording Bridge Over Troubled Water in New York, and they broke up later this year. Wow. So apparently this was a big thing for that. Orson
I gotta
Welles,
say, not worth it.
Not worth it. No, definitely not. Orson
Welles,
Welles, as you said, he did. He did alright. I didn't really recognize him, to be honest.
The thing about Orson Welles is that I just associate him with being like the big baritone, boomy voice guy.
Yeah.
Because that's what he gets reduced to in sort of the popular memory. Yeah. But but he does actually have range in a way that I sometimes forget.
He does. He doesn't like acting, right?
I think he sees himself as more of a director. I think acting's pay the bills. I think it's he aggressively sold out towards the end of his life.
I seem to remember there was a thing where he kind of felt that he had to act to pay the bills, but he really was not a big fan of it. And some of his films are not great because he didn't put full in. But yeah, he does alright. I didn't recognize him.
Did you see what's the name of that Orson Welles film that Netflix released, like the lost one a couple years ago? It's like Wind something.
I don't know.
I haven't seen it either. I hear it's incredibly good.
Cool. There's a film. Mark Cousins did a film about Orson Welles called The Eyes of Orson Welles, which I'd quite like to watch at some point.
Nice.
Yeah.
I haven't seen any of his other than Citizen Kane. I haven't seen any of the other ones.
I've seen a couple, I think. Yeah, I can't remember where.
I hear F for Fake is the other really, really good one.
Nice. So, do you know who played Milo?
Milo, no, because he was wearing a hat and therefore cheating. Couldn't see his face.
That was John Voight. Is that how you say his name?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. From Deliverance and other films as well. And then the chaplain.
Wait, can I put in my one bit of trivia? I don't know if you knew it. So I'm going to ask, in the copy of the book you read, was he named Shiplin or Tapman?
Oh, I don't remember.
Because apparently in American copies of Catch-22, they now call him Chaplain Tapman, as in the film, which they apparently changed it for. And in UK ones, he's still Mr. Shipman, which was his original name.
I think it was Shipman.
And I was sort of wondering throughout the film, because I saw that beforehand. I was like, I wonder why they renamed him from Shipman to Tapman. And as far as I can tell, the entire reason is because it rhymes with Chaplin.
It rhymes. It was quite funny, to be fair.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. If you're gonna do it, you do it. I appreciate it. It's just a weird time to make a major change.
It was a bit weird. Yeah, I think he was called Shipman in the copy I read, but I'm not sure. So that was Anthony Perkins from Psycho.
Oh, cool. Oh, nice.
Yeah, and also from Psycho 2, Psycho 3, Psycho 4. And is there a Psycho 5? I don't know.
I didn't even know there was a Psycho 2.
There's like 4 of them.
Why?
I have no idea. Obviously Hitchcock only did the one, but I think they just sold out.
Yeah.
Okay. The major.
He did seem familiar. I don't know who it was.
You may recognize him from a little known film called Elf. He's
Oh,
the
Will Ferrell, of course.
of course. No, it was Bob Newhart who plays Will
Oh.
Ferrell's grandpa in Elf, or dad.
Ah.
You know, the one that he sits on his knee.
Duncan, I'm going to tell you again. I think I've already mentioned this on the podcast. I've seen Elf.
Yeah, I haven't seen Elf. God. Oh, I think you did mention that because I think I said we'd do a Christmas special in like 30 years. All right, fine.
Exactly.
Well, he's the narrator from Elf, Bob Newhart. Martin Sheen, who we've talked about as well, was Dobbs.
Good boy.
So he kind of looks like his son, doesn't he?
Martin Sheen, yeah. It's just
at points.
This is not to be too like homoerotic about it, but like it is distracting. Not distracting, but it is notable just how much better looking Martin Sheen is than Charlie.
Yeah. Do you think that's a result of Charlie's,
Probably. It's probably a little column A, little column B.
Yeah.
But yeah, also a much better actor, although that's probably much more inevitable.
Yeah,
I think
that's
worked for a little more.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like him.
Cool. So, you got any other points you want to make about the
in terms of the cast, not really,
or anything. I mean, I've got stuff, but I'm just handing it over to you.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think. See, the thing is, it's a very broad film, and it's quite hard to get into specifics without thinking about things. What did you think about Milo? Because I thought he was a pretty good character, overall.
So, I mean, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I preferred him in the TV show and in the book. But so, yeah, I feel like he was another person that somewhat suffered from the film cutting down a bit, because you kind of see him in the film. He just kind of pops up and is doing something.
Shall I sort of describe the experience of the film, and then you can fill in the blanks, as it were? So, like in the film, Milo, I think even maybe like the second scene of the entire film says that he's got an idea for like selling stuff.
Yeah.
And making a profit, and like he said, like selling supplies. So he initially says blankets, and then we find out in the next scene he's also been selling parachutes.
Yeah.
And the idea is that he's going to turn a profit, and this will be great for everyone involved. Anytime like he takes someone's stuff, he leaves them a share in the company. And then sort of throughout the film, it's sort of a running subplot. So like every now and then, Milo will sort of pop back up, and he's in the middle of some sort of lucrative deal, but it's always like getting ridiculously far away from anything that an army would actually use. Like there's one where like he's on the coastline and he's sort of trading statues for some sort of paintings or something. But then eventually Milo makes like a very bad investment in cotton, I think it is.
I think it's cotton, yeah.
So he fills up a warehouse with it, and like he points out that like the men can't eat this, so it's useless to them. But then the Germans say that they'll take the cotton off their hand if they bomb their own airfield.
Yeah.
Which they do because it's good for everyone.
And that's like the ultimate mix.
Absurdity.
Yeah.
And so like there's a sort of, so towards the end of the film, like the entire town is under Milo's complete control. Yeah. They're all members of the company. And like as they sort of pass out
the syndicate.
The syndicate, that's it, sorry. And they start, enforcing curfews, beating people down the street, and Milo's saying like, when Yossarian confronts Milo about the death of Nately, who died in the bombing raid, Milo has the delightful line that if he just understood basic economics about supply and demand, then Nately wouldn't have had to die now, would he?
Yeah.
Died a very rich man. Which is, of course, a bit of absurdity about, I don't know, profiteering, capitalism, its petty cruelties, or its unfeeling machinery, and, of course, the good old military-industrial complex.
Yeah.
No, I thought it was, I guess maybe just because it's hard for me in my own little bubble to necessarily sympathize with the experiences of people in war in quite the same way, quite the same immediacy as I do with Milo stuff, which is a lot more relevant to life as I live it. So that stuff hit me a lot more, or at least resonated. I don't know. So I liked him, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say he's my favorite character. So yeah, I think the film did do him justice to an extent, but it's a lot more detailed in the book, as everything is in the book and TV show, because they're longer. And you kind of the way I felt about it in the film is in these things, in the other mediums, shall we say, you see a lot of the media actually. You see like the slow build up of the syndicate, which I feel like you misses out on. So
Yeah,
so
the
the
film's way of doing
background,
it is that it goes on in the background, and then like you sort
yeah,
of get jumps towards it,
yeah,
and like you see it
which
progress massively in the time.
which also happens in the book, but the book has like a section that is then focused because the book's sort of out of order. Milo's constantly in the background doing stuff, but then there is also a large section of the book that explains what happened with Milo. And then because the TV show is told more chronologically, you see them build up throughout the show. So the background of Milo is that he's the mess officer, so he's in charge of the food, and that's how he gets the initial permission to trade and stuff like that to provide better meals, which is sort of said in the film, but not really. Yeah. And like he offers Yossarian a part of the syndicate as well, like not just a share, but like to be a joint owner in it. And Yossarian says no, I think, as well. And there's another funny bit where he gets he gets German planes to work for him as well. So like all the Germans land in the airfield and get like held at gunpoint, and then Milo drives up and is like, "Oh no, these guys are with me," and then like starts unloading all the stuff. And it's just it's things like that that it like slowly grows, and he takes Yossarian to meet some like sultans in the Middle East to trade oil and stuff like that. And yeah, I just feel like that's not shown as well in the film until suddenly he owns all of Rome. You know, it kind of feels like it's a background thing, and then suddenly it's like the main thing. Whereas in the book, there's more of the slow build towards it.
Yeah. I don't know. I think obviously you can't have that quite the same level of slow build up.
No, exactly.
Doing it as a film, I think this probably was the smarter route to take than that.
Yeah. No, I mean Milo is definitely one of my favorite characters. Along with Major, but he got kind of fucked over in this film.
Major is a genuinely pretty funny character. I like these.
Yeah, he's great in the TV show. Like the actor, the casting is a lot better in the TV show, in my opinion.
As you have said, yeah.
As I've said.
Other discussions that I liked thematically. I really liked the old Italian man and his.
I was about to ask what you thought about that guy.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm very. Maybe just in light of recent events, I have been thinking a lot recently about how all great empires must die and when will ours inevitably fall. As sort of the old man sort of talks about that, he sort of discusses like the American arrogance, as it were, how all great empires eventually meet their end. Rome, Persia, ancient Greece. To think anything else is arrogance. And yeah, I don't know. Like I say, it's just something I've been thinking about recently. It's always nice to see it reflected in entertainment. Dark Souls is also about that in my relentless pursuit to drag everything we do down into the mud.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It resonates with me. I think it's important. I wonder if that would have maybe resonated in a different way in 1970. Because obviously that would be
Vietnam.
That would be past the peak of American exceptionalism, obviously, but it would be just before its downfall. And certainly 1953, which is when Heller originally wrote the novel, would have been the exact apex of it.
Yeah.
So that's just an interesting thing to think about. What did you think about it, Duncan?
Well, I mean, I think it just shows how people take advantage of situations. I guess, I don't know. Like the whole character is a clever one. It shows how you can get. I don't know. I mean, I like that character a lot.
Yeah.
But I feel like you've covered it.
Yeah, I should say the Italian man's main thrust of his speech is that he's saying that Italy's managed to survive for so long because it's too weak for anyone to really bother.
Yeah, exactly.
Destroy it.
And they just go along with whatever happens.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, it's a way to survive, to be honest.
Yeah, might be true. On the other hand, he did mention Rome in his speech, so
yeah.
Regardless, it doesn't work out too well for him in the end, anyway. So
no, all his horrors get taken away.
Speaking of, Duncan, did you know that this is a book, a major work of literature written in the 20th century? Do you know what that means? Do you know what that means inevitably happen?
What?
woman
Jamie.
gets killed, and it's about the male character's development. Yay! So we
Yeah,
can discuss that.
especially in this
Uh,
film. This film's pretty
yeah.
sexist. Or certainly
Hmm.
ignores the woman mostly.
Yeah.
They have
I
they
mean,
have a much
it's
bigger place in the say the line book and TV show.
great. Yeah.
I'm
I'll
just
take your word for that. But
no,
I don't
I
know.
definitely you are right. I mean, on the one hand, it is sort of an inevitable thing, focusing on the
Mm.
Second World War, um, planes with all men in it. That is going to be like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, the the book and TV show. Oh my God,
Mm.
they have a bigger part. Like the nurse has quite a big part and explains how
Yeah.
she feels more than just like the one monologue. And
Mm.
there's the various like female characters,
Yeah.
prostitutes and stuff. Whilst
Yeah.
they are prostitutes, they actually have stuff to say,
Yeah. I
which
should say.
only happens once or twice in the film, and not particularly
Yeah.
well.
I should say that I'm actually no. I'm completely sure that it is intentional in the film how little attention is paid to Yossarian's love interest, who's a hooker who he
Yeah.
be engaged with, but she's never named
Although
for one.
I did
But
think,
also in the scene where she dies, one of Captain Yossarian's friends rapes her and then pushes her out the
yeah,
window in another Catch-22.
yeah,
It is transparently obvious that Yossarian is vastly more concerned about the friend in question and
yeah,
ultimately sort of
then
himself, compared to the actual victim, as it were. And I think that's really meant to show how far both of them have gone, rather than anything
yeah,
else. Obviously, it is not. It is another not great example of a very common thing
no.
where you do see that
The
scenes like a woman's death and these things are never actually about the woman in question.
Yeah, the scene when they were in bed was quite nice, and they were like having the
Yeah,
little cute
they have
conversation,
another Catch-22 about being a marriage and being a virgin.
being a virgin and being crazy and stuff. That was a nice little scene,
Hmm. Yeah,
kind of
it's alright.
wholesome. Yeah, I feel like the representation of women when it was done, um, like I think there were a couple of times when it was done not badly, but for the
Yeah.
most part it was either ignored or not done very well.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I mean the general's wife's probably the worst one.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean,
again,
I feel the point of that scene is
so
obviously
in
that the men in it are horrible. So I'd be willing to sort of give it a pass on that. I think.
yeah,
Although,
no, it is definitely, but also she's like pretty clearly
yeah,
got like fake boobs in and like
yeah,
stuff like that, like Jessica Rabbit style
yeah.
figure. I don't know. So in the in other versions of the story, Yossarian has sex with her when he's still in
Ah,
training. So the general that comes to visit is the same one that was training them when they
mm,
were still getting trained, and he has an affair with that with the wife. So
okay.
she has more of a character than just someone that they ogle at.
Mm,
Whereas in this,
okay.
obviously, she's not introduced till halfway through, and they're all like, "Oh,
Mm,
look at this." But yeah, so
mm,
actually, as a character in the wider media, she is.
mm.
Yeah,
Cool. I
cool.
mean, I'm liking these synonyms you've got for book and TV show now. Keep mixing it up.
Well, media,
Yeah.
other versions of
Other
this.
media, other versions. It's good.
Yeah. Well, I don't want
Uh,
to say book and TV show again
good.
because
Um,
it's
yeah.
pretty annoying.
Okay. So I think we should move on to discussing the ending fairly soon. But are there any other shorts that you feel deserve particular attention from
Any other
us?
shorts that I feel? The
Yeah.
one when he pretends to be the dying boy was quite funny.
Oh yeah,
But
that's a
also
slightly weird
not
one.
that funny.
But
It was kind of weird.
yeah,
So,
I do
like
wonder if maybe. Mm,
the people that come to visit are obviously supposed to be very old, but they're not,
mm,
which is
yeah.
like the first weird bit. And I feel like that kind of loses. I don't know. I feel like the film is incredibly satirical, but
Mm,
everything is sort of based in reality in some way,
mm,
where like
yeah.
it's normal stuff but blown out of proportion. But the bit when they came to visit him, and they're like they think it's their son, and they just totally believe it. Just it felt almost too it like felt too out of reality. Like if it
Yeah.
was It felt like a little comedy sketch from some other show. And if they'd been really old or something, then you'd be like, okay, so they're supposed to be really old. But it was just like a pair of middle-aged people. That
Yeah, I
I don't
think
know.
that's sort of the thing. Like the fact that like it's just a bit more uncertain. Like obviously everyone talks weird, and not weird, talks in a very particular way in this
Yeah.
film. Like they're usually putting forward a perspective that you would very much imagine a person would have. It's just that they're phrasing it in a certain way.
Hmm.
Whereas I
Which
would say
works really well.
the comedy in that scene it just feels a bit strange because nobody
Yeah.
directly acknowledges what's happening, which I guess is probably the point of the
That's
scene.
the point, I think. Yeah.
But like it feels it's of a different breed to a lot of the rest of the film.
Yeah.
I would say. But yeah.
Yeah. What else have we got here? He gets shot in the leg.
He gets
But-
strapped in the leg, technically.
Yeah, he gets shot in the leg. But
That's
in other copies of
Mhm.
this storyline, he gets shot in the balls.
Oh,
And
that is.
I was wondering why they would cut that out, because that makes more sense, because the point is that
Yeah.
he would be excused from combat duty if he'd been shot in the leg, but because he gets shot in the balls, he's not. And that's like another Catch-22 thing.
Maybe it's
Whereas
a
in this, he
rating
just gets
thing?
shot in the legs. It must be a rating thing, yeah, definitely.
Mm.
But it kind of
Although it seems a bit weird because there are bare tits and vag in this film.
And veg.
I feel
Well,
like you could probably
yeah.
mention both. But,
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, it's kind of weird. But yeah, what else have I got here? I think we can move on to the ending. So by the ending, do you mean Snowden or do you mean or?
I was going to discuss. So basically, in the final scene of the film, the airfield's been bombed by Milo, as we've discussed.
Yeah.
And the staff, Colonel, what's his name, Cornhart? Colonel
Cathcar.
Cathcar, that's it.
And the other one's called
Cathcar.
Corn. That's probably why you're getting
Corn,
confused.
that's right. Anyway, the two of them, they're kind of fed up with Husarian at this point. They want him to go home because he's causing more trouble than it's worth.
Yeah.
And they basically offer him a deal, and it's like, you can start flying missions again, or we'll let you go home, but you got to do one thing for us in return.
Uh-huh.
And what they ask him to do is like us.
Mm-hmm.
That's their request. And I really like that as a moment because it's so perfectly insidious, but also incredibly pathetic at the same time.
Yeah, it's great.
I really thought that was just very much sort of hammering home the sort of thesis statement about the leadership, as it were, in the war context. Just this sort of strange mixture of incompetency yet sort of ruthless power.
Yeah.
So I liked it as a moment a lot.
It's very good.
Apologise for not being a better literary critic. But because that's what this film demands, is a slightly higher form of criticism that I cannot give.
Mm-hmm.
But we end up. Husarian initially takes the deal, but then he's Nate Lee's ex-girlfriend tries to assassinate him due to well, I was being very respectful, Duncan, and you.
Well, but that's her character's name.
Oh,
I mean,
yes,
there's a difference. It's not. I'm not just saying that. That's her character's name.
Anyway, she tries to stab him. Well, no, she does stab him. She tries to kill him and fails, so he ends up in the hospital. For 3 weeks, and then it turns out that pretty much everyone who all of his friends are dead, or so he thinks. All that's left are Chaplain Tapman and one of the major guys. His name I don't think is spoken.
Major Danby.
Major Danby in the book. Okay.
Yeah. It is spoken, but yeah.
Oh, maybe I just didn't pay attention.
Really.
But yeah. But these are two characters who aren't his friends. He's just on decent enough terms with them. So he's sort of lamenting that. He's like, I can't take this deal. Actually, I've decided that it would, that what is there to live for? And they say that actually one of his friends who kept, crashing planes into the ocean has successfully escaped to Sweden on a life raft.
Yeah.
He was crashing all those planes as practice, and it succeeded. He's gotten out.
Yeah.
So inspired by this, Yossarian jumps out of the window and makes a mad break for freedom to the sound of Stars and Stripes Forever, and gets in a little dinghy. And I would say one of the better visuals of this film is him in the dinghy and just seeing how like he makes such small progress, all continually in the wrong direction. I think he accidentally turns around at one point. It's very nice.
It's great.
It's the good shit.
Yeah.
And that's how the film ends.
Yeah.
So what did you think of that?
I thought it was good.
Mm.
I mean, it's a good ending. Or in the book, it's a lot more developed because he shares the tent with Yossarian, and basically he tries to make the tent as comfortable as possible. So he builds a stove and stuff.
Yeah, that's still in the film.
And this is that it's in the film for like one scene. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But basically he tries to make the tent as comfortable as possible, and it really annoys Yossarian. But then he realizes that it's because Oren knows that he's gonna run away, and he wants the tent to be as nice as possible for Yossarian. And another bit in that's not in this film is where Yossarian gets assigned when Or goes missing. Yossarian gets assigned a new tent mate. But the guy that comes gets assigned to a mission before he gets signed in to the squadron.
Okay.
And then he dies on that mission. But because he's not been signed in, he's not dead. He's not officially dead, which means Yossarian gets a tent to himself because his tent mate's a dead man. If that makes sense. So he's in the tent on his own with all of Or's stuff. So that's Or's character arc. Whereas in this one, you just see him die basically, or seemingly die.
Yeah, I don't know. You get a sense of friends.
Yeah.
I should also say that much like the titular Catch-22, the film itself is also circular. In that, much like last week's film Valley of the Dolls, we get a scene from the ending out of context to begin the film, and then the film starts proper.
That's right.
And then you get the ending again. By that time, at least I don't know if it's the same for you, but at least for me, both times that those films did that, I had completely forgotten about the first scene by the time it came back.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I had forgotten that last week did that until you said that, and then it took me a few minutes to think about it. Yeah, definitely.
But works very well thematically here, obviously.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, it immediately establishes the sort of out of order thing of it.
I mean, as always, the thing with these media res things is that because when you're watching them, these are two characters who you don't know and have no context for. It's obviously not going to stick in your mind that much because you can't really engage with it properly. I don't know if it was different for you, but I didn't recognize the figure as Captain Yossarian even after we met him quote unquote properly. So that's I don't know. I was never oh man, I wonder how Captain Yossarian gets stabbed, which I think is kind of maybe what you're supposed to feel about that.
Yeah. Maybe, I don't know. Yeah. It's a good ending. It's just kind of renewed hope kind of thing.
Very morally justified on Yossarian's part. I don't think it's supposed to be a decision you question, but just in case it is, that's my take.
Yeah. So another good bit is when he is nude for a fair bit of the film.
Oh yeah, he starts refusing to wear a uniform. Nobody really cares because they just kind of.
Well, I mean, it's another example of the kind of leadership thing because they care initially, but then the big general says, if this man's a hero, he can decide whether or not he wears his uniform, and then they all go, oh yes, I agree, sir, you're right, and then he's basically free to not wear it.
This is a good film if you like watching ass. I gotta say,
Yeah.
Just you got plenty of that.
Plenty of ass.
On the Valley of the Dolls, I guess, but or Worthy's second.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, I guess that's clearly the point where the film's never really that sane, to be honest, but certainly this is the point where it is full on insane, just constantly.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it?
So, have you got any more points about the plot?
Not really. The thing is that just because the film is basically a series of vignettes, is the word which I forgot.
Yeah. That's right.
It's hard to sort of talk about the plot as a whole, so much as just that was a funny scene.
That's true. Well, the main plot revolves around the death of Snowden.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think about that? Did that scene haunt you sufficiently?
No, not at all.
Not even when all his guts fall out?
Well, I'd say the very end version of that scene where Snowden dies, all of his guts fall out, and that is a bit gross. But it didn't hit me as haunting, I'll be honest.
Okay.
But maybe I'm a sociopath, or maybe it didn't accurately call it. Do you know what it
is haunting in, Jamie?
What?
The TV show.
Oh, of course. Oh, I'm sure.
It's pretty haunting in that. Yeah, it kind of works in this, but it's kind of weird the way it's shot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's my last thing about the plot. So, all the hairstyles people have are very 70s. Would you agree?
That is true. Yeah.
They don't feel
Uh,
very World War II style, which I
that's
guess
true.
is I guess that's a symptom of films of a certain time. They kind of, or even if they're set historically, they generally in some way reflect the time that they're made. So
Yeah, I think like when they feel like no one's particularly going to notice their care.
No.
I think it maybe does kind of help a bit because it does sort of make the film feel very timeless in a way, which I know isn't. This isn't a film where it's supposed to feel timeless.
Well,
But,
it kind of is to an extent.
I was about to say it's like other than the specific references to Italy, there's not that much to clue you in that this is a World War II film specifically. It could be
No.
like Korean War or Vietnam. Well, it couldn't be Vietnam because it's a very different
No.
war, but it could be other wars. You know, which I feel does help
Yeah.
it.
Although not as much as Too Late the Hero, which
No.
was basically a Vietnam War film. This
Yeah,
one is
exactly.
definitely a World War II film, but it doesn't go out of its way to. I mean, you never see any Germans in it.
Yeah,
or,
exactly.
Or any Italians that are, as in soldiers.
Yeah, they never do anything that would actually positively help a war effort either. I don't think. They pretty much always just waste time.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Well, not the time's wasted when you're sparing lives, obviously, but they don't kill people as they're supposed to.
No.
Although they also very much aren't on any kind of moral crusade either, which is a nice line to walk in terms of characters. Yeah, I don't know if you saw this film didn't do very well commercially.
I didn't see that.
So the theory behind that is because the American public were obviously kind of sick of war at this point.
Yeah, and this is such a war. The way it's shot makes it a war film.
Well, that's
More
the sort
so
of weird thing because MASH did do very well that year, enough to inspire an incredibly successful sitcom. And obviously, I think that's because MASH is very much born out of this apathy towards war.
Yeah.
And I feel like this film, well, Catch-22 sort of comes from a very similar place in a way.
I think it does, but
film.
Not this film version as much.
Yeah.
I mean, this might just be because I read that review by Roger Ebert, who he also said that you really need to have read the book to appreciate this film fully.
I don't know. I feel that's just something people are always going to say if they have read the book, you know.
Yeah, well, this is true. This is true.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, just I guess because this is the first time this has really been relevant. Can you think of any book to film adaptations you particularly like that
are better? That are better. Well, I mean, Jurassic Park's my favorite film.
That's true, but I would say Jurassic Park and in a rare out of character move for me, class it up. The Godfather, which is also based on a book, are both adaptations, but they're both basically different stories, as it were. But they make enough changes.
Yeah, I mean Jurassic Park's pretty similar, but it's it's fairly different at the same time. I've not read The Godfather, so I can.
No one has.
That. No, that's true. I think we've got it somewhere, but.
Yeah, my parents have it as well.
Yeah.
So, it's aggressively a paperback, I would say.
Right.
Great. But yeah, I can't think of any time I've seen a book to film adaptation of a book I've already read, and I was like, yeah, this is good, you know.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's perhaps a fool's enterprise, but I'm sure I will finish this episode and then immediately think of one that's fantastic.
Well, you can record a little like disclaimer at the end or something.
Yeah, I'll send you a live action footage bit of me saying like sorry guys, and I'll do the thing with my hand across the screen. That's very important.
Trainspotting is a good one.
Oh, cool. I never read Trainspotting.
Well, I'd recommend you read Trainspotting. It's a good book.
Yeah, I should read more books as a whole. I feel it's a very great weakness in my character.
Definitely.
The film reminds me a lot of Slaughterhouse-5, which is a book I've actually read.
I've not read that one.
Oh, okay, then we can't do a discussion. It's very similar in terms of its tone and writing style and subject matter.
Do you think you would read Catch-22 after this?
Yeah, I watched the film and I came away from it thinking, yeah, I should buy the book.
All right. Well, I
suppose
think
actually be the film's main mission, so maybe it did succeed.
Maybe I could lend you my copy. Although it might be.
Oh,
I don't know.
Well, I'll be honest. Don't do that because I will never ever return it. I will forget immediately.
Well,
it takes me
okay.
a long time.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's. I think that's everything about the plot. I got some trivia about the film.
Okay.
So.
Lay it on me, bro.
You might have seen this. This was on the Amazon what do they call it? X-ray, is it? The thing that comes up.
I hate it.
Yeah, so
it's useful for this because it gives us trivia, but any time I'm really watching something, I despise it.
I mean, it's useful for if I ever wanted to know who an actor was or what a song was, it'd be useful for that. But I don't actually know.
Like trivia goofs. Did you see that in this scene? They're holding it with their right hand.
That's true. Okay, no, but there is some interesting. It's some interesting trivia. Okay, there's this guy John Jordan. Okay, right, and he was filming a James Bond film. Can't remember which one. I think it was You Only Live Twice. Maybe.
Okay, yeah. I guess this would. You know what? It comes up so often that after this episode's done, I'm going to look up a timeline of James Bond films because it's really knowledge we need for this.
Okay, so he was filming a James Bond film, and there was a scene where there was like a helicopter and a plane or something like that, and he was in another helicopter, and one of the helicopter blades struck his foot and cut it off.
Ugh.
So he got his prosthetic foot. And then he was also interesting thing. So he got his foot cut off, or cut in half or whatever. But there happened to be a microsurgery conference in the town that they were filming in. So he actually
I have heard about this before, but not from the X-ray. I've heard about this years before.
Oh well, I had to Google more detail. The X-ray bit's not even here yet, Jamie. It's coming up. Because we're talking about James Bond film here. The X-ray is about this film. But this is all relevant to it. So there was a microsurgery conference in the town that they were filming. So he had like the best surgeons in the world, and they reattached his foot. But then he got it amputated because, quote unquote, it didn't feel right. So he had his prosthetic foot. And then he was filming this film. And for whatever reason, he refused to wear a harness in the film that he was filming.
Oh, yeah.
The plane he was filming in. And then a bit of wind caught the plane, and he fell out of an open door. And because he had his prosthetic foot, he couldn't get like proper footing before he fell out. So he fell like 4,000 feet to his death. So rest in peace, John Jordan. Mad lad.
What a fun factoid, Duncan.
It is. I mean, it's pretty mental to get your foot cut off in one film and then fall out of a plane in another one. Is pretty crazy.
I suppose the attitude that led to one would perhaps also lead to the other.
Well, I was wondering if. Because I think the thing I read said that in the James Bond film he wasn't able to move out of the way in time because of his harness. So I was wondering, if I do wonder if he was refusing to wear a harness because the harness in the previous film had almost caused his foot to get cut off. But I don't know. That's all conjecture. I don't know if that's true. But that's so. And then that's piece of trivia number one. Piece of trivia number two, or not even piece of trivia, something in the film that I didn't notice, and I'm interested if you noticed, was when Major is in his office, there's a painting of President Roosevelt, and then that changes to Winston Churchill, and then changes to Stalin, all in the same shot. Did you notice that?
I did not notice that.
I did not notice either. I'm going to have to look it up after this.
What a fun little detail for us all.
I don't know why. I don't know what that adds to the story exactly. But because I did notice that it was Stalin at one point, but I didn't notice the change. And I didn't even really think.
No, I think I only noticed Roosevelt, which is obviously the dullest one to notice, so it didn't really register for me.
But I'll need to look up that shot again because that's quite interesting. There were a couple of nice long shots in this. Like you were talking about the one at the end when it zooms out and he's trying to paddle. And there's one just before that. There's one just before that when they're talking in the hospital and it very slowly zooms in over a couple minutes. Stuff like that, nice little shots.
Yeah.
Another bit.
The bit where they're bombing the airfield, obviously it very much goes into your complaints about it looking like a war film, but it is a very nicely shot war film in that moment.
Oh, it is. It absolutely is. Yeah, I, I, I feel like if I hadn't seen the TV show, maybe I wouldn't have even thought about it. But because that's shot in one way, and that kind of worked so well, I think that's probably why I noticed immediately that this one is very brown and very grey and whatever. And I feel like it worked better. And it also meant that when Rome becomes like this sort of dystopian place, that was a lot more noticeable than it was in this film when it kind of just went from one thing to the other. Yeah. So another bit of trivia. While we're talking about filming and whatever, there was, I didn't even write this one down, but I've just remembered I read it. So there was they were trying to work out how to film in the bombers.
Yeah.
And the director had like worked it all out, and he was like, okay, we're gonna have this cast member in this seat, this cast member in this seat, and we'll fit the camera crew down in the nose here, and I'll sit under this thing here. And then his assistant director was like, okay, that okay, and the guy went. The director said, "Okay, what's wrong?" And he went, "Well, who's going to fly the plane?" Because like they had the whole cockpit full of like actors and camera and stuff, and obviously when it's a plane, you need someone to fly it. So that was a funny little line.
Did you not just keep it on the ground and then like do an old timey like sort of?
I don't know.
Those reels, or you could still green screen in those days. I'm not being foolish by saying that.
I don't know. I assume. I assume there was some reason for it. Anyway, that was quite funny little line. So I think that's everything that I've got. I don't want to hate on this film. I feel like if this, I mean, for you, this was the first thing you've ever watched of this. This piece, and would you say you liked it?
I liked it fine, but like I say, my overwhelming impression of it was like, okay, this is not the best version of the story. It's immediately clear.
Right. So I mean, if even you got that, then that shows. I think that
it's a little too novel-esque to really work as a film. The dialogue and everything.
Exactly. A film from a novel is a tough thing to do because
well, like particularly when it's like a very modernist novel, like one that's very engaged with the format of a novel.
Exactly. And I mean the other thing about a novel, of course, is that you can write what people are thinking. And write what people are interacting with other people and that kind of thing. When of course when you do that, when you try and do that in a film, it doesn't always work because unless you have a weird voiceover, but that can that feels cheap often.
Yeah.
So it's a tough one.
They do that in the David Lynch Dune film. It's terrible. Yeah.
There you go.
It's like echoing and shit. Yeah.
Right. So. Shall we rate it?
Yeah, I'm going to aggressively put this as a watch it if it's on. That is the exact point where I would put it. And I would say read the novel instead.
Yeah, well, I would put it if for some reason you have no access to the novel or TV show, then watch if it's on. But otherwise, I would say don't watch. Read the book, watch the TV show. They're both great. I would put both of them in like buy the Criterion Collection Ultimate Edition. But this film, I think probably
it's definitely a story that you should experience in some form. So if you are in this magical hypothetical world where the film is the only thing you have access to, then I would race it to and actively seek it out and watch it.
Yeah. Okay.
Just
it's
not
that's true
about it. And I can't imagine that world ever existing because it is much cheaper. Well, not cheaper, but you can buy a book easily. It's pretty old, You can find it.
Maybe I'll put it. No, do you know, I'm going to put it in don't watch because I think even watch if it's on. I think if someone says to you, "Do you want to watch this film?" I would say don't say yes because you're going to spoil the experience that you can get from the book or the TV show. I would say the book, obviously. But if you hate reading, there's a great TV show and watch that.
Okay. I'm sticking with watch it if it's on. That's
okay. Well, I'm saying don't watch. So that's
cool.
Cool.
Those are our ratings.
So now we move to the last 5 to 30 minutes of the poddy.
Yeah.
We
Well,
talk
do you
about.
want to? I've already, in my immutable fashion, decided what we're watching next week. Do you want me to tell you now, or do you want me to tell you
Yeah,
later in a fun
go for
mystery?
it. Go for it.
Tomorrow, not tomorrow. Next week we will be watching The Conformist,
Right.
which is an Italian film. Is supposedly one of the best films ever made.
Okay.
And it was released in the Berlin International Film Festival on the 1st of July, so we can watch it next week. And also, it's available free online, which is the best and most decisive factor in us watching a film.
That is quite a large one. Yeah.
Go. Yep.
Good. So that'll be my turn to purchase that one. Yeah.
No.
And then it'll be your turn the week after.
Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah,
what have you been up to, or what have I been up to? So.
Well, we can start with me if you want.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Start with you. Go for it.
Okay. So do you remember several weeks back I told you in our private lives about the itch.io bundle for racial equality?
Sure, I remember all our conversations.
Well. I'm gonna brand you a racist very soon, Duncan. Anyway, that bundle had 1,500 games for $5, and I mentioned it to you in the context of it being not easily, but one of certainly the best deals I would say probably in gaming history.
Wait, 1,500 games?
Yes, the deal's over now, Duncan. I hope this is a valuable.
Are you kidding me? Did it have good games in it?
It had a lot of very good games in it. It was all indie stuff.
Fuck me, that sounds really good.
But now I own 1,500 games. So I started playing one today. It's called Death and Taxes. It's very built off. You play as like a Grim Reaper, and you decide who lives and who dies. It's built very much off. It's very clearly inspired by Papers, Please.
Right.
You've played, right?
Yeah.
So it's quite interesting. It's very like Papers, Please is about the intersection between your morality and doing what it needs to survive. I would say that Death and Taxes is more about the intersection between your morality and doing what you're told, or deference to authority.
That sounds like Catch-22.
Perhaps
a little bit, not really.
So it's quite an interesting game because when you're going around, when you sort of do, it's what a game where it's like intended to be played multiple times. But like on the first go through, you don't really know how the systems work or what you're supposed to be doing. So like you sort of automatically defer to doing what you're told to do just because it's like the only thing you have to grasp on, and it's the only thing that sort of comes with negative consequence. That's obvious. So I've been playing through that, doing a first run through this afternoon. It took about 4 hours. And it ends very badly, but it was a very engaging time. But as you play through it, you get more knowledge and you figure out how to how to gauge what's going on behind the scenes and actually affect things in a way you want to. So I've been doing I've been very briefly starting a second playthrough where I'm a bit more in control of what's going on, but I still don't know nearly enough to make a proper difference. But I'm gathering information. It's becoming a very engaging time. I'm enjoying myself greatly.
Good.
Yeah.
Well,
I would recommend
I should get that bundle. That bundle.
That bundle has been away for about a week now. But,
why didn't you tell me about it, man?
I told you all about it.
Yeah, you probably did. I honestly, I have no recollection of that, but I'm sure you did.
I can share you the download links for a couple of them because there are some games that I already own in it.
Right, yeah, it's sick. Cool. Okay, so that's what you've been up to. So,
I've also been playing more Spider-Man, but I talked about that last week.
Yeah, you talked about that last week. Any updates?
The last fifth of the game sucks in a weird way because they decide to introduce like 6 more bases and like 20 or 30 more crimes, and those are the worst parts of the sandbox. The combat in this game is not fun when you're having to do a lot of it.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, the plot gets much more interesting all of a sudden.
Nice.
And I feel the game would be much stronger if it started there, and like sort of gave it a bit more time.
Started at the end, so kind of Catch-22 style.
No. Just if it started with the prison break, and then like you had the Sinister Six, and then like you maybe like put all 6 of them on the map at once, and then like you could sort of do them in any order you wanted. Like that would be a very fun sandbox game. Whereas right now you do 80% of the game about one villain, and it's not super great. And then like at the very end, there's more exciting.
Yeah, you have all of them.
Yeah. But you sort of like shuffle all the Sinister Six off super quickly, so you don't really get any time to know them.
That's true. All right.
Bit of a shame.
Well, fair enough.
Yeah.
So I got Disney Plus.
Ah, cool. When are you going to share me your password?
Well, Jamie, you're not allowed to do that.
Wow.
Are you? I don't know. I got Disney Plus. I watched The Mandalorian. I
Uh-huh.
watched Disney Gallery The Mandalorian, which is about the making of The Mandalorian.
Course.
Um, and I'm currently watching the Jeff Goldblum World According to Jeff Goldblum show,
Cool.
which is good. The making of the Mandalorian thing is incredible.
Ah.
Um, so do do you know anything about it?
I know Werner Herzog was involved in the making
Yeah.
of Baby Yoda, which is very amusing to me. Other than that, not too much.
Right. So basically, so they had this thing, right? Called,
Hmm.
so obviously traditional, or not traditional, but now traditional filmmaking. You have a green screen or a blue screen,
Yeah.
and you film on that. And
Mm.
then there's been, so one of the main players, or one of the main people involved in Mandalorian is Jon Favreau.
Yeah.
And he did the Lion King and the Jungle Book, the new ones.
Hmm.
And they were really like forefronts in this technology of like using VR to film and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
I didn't see the new Lion King. I didn't
I've
like.
not seen it, but I've seen the
Do
new
that.
Jungle Book. So the main thing the new Jungle Book did was, they still had green screens and stuff, but they had these giant screens,
Mm.
where they could like project shadows and stuff on. Because
Okay.
one of the main issues with a green screen is getting the lighting right for whatever the
Mm.
background's going to be. So what they did for the Jungle Book is like if they had elephants running past, they'd have these huge screens with like light and elephant shadows moving across them, and that meant that all the reflections and shadows and stuff were correct on the actor. Um,
Yeah.
so that was like the first development, and then for the Lion King, they developed the VR filming, where they built the entire world in like a game engine, and it meant that a real camera crew could put on VR headsets and use their actual cameras, and it
Mm.
meant the whole thing felt more fluid and stuff. And then
Mm.
after that had all been filmed in like the very basic game engine thing, they would then build out the world.
Yeah.
So I've not seen that film yet, but I want to see it now. But for the
Mm.
Mandalorian, they went one further, where they had this thing called the volume,
Okay.
and it's this room that is literally every single wall is like a screen. It's like a circle of screens, and the ceiling
Mm.
is a screen as well. And there's no
Yeah.
gaps between any of the screens. It's just one continuous screen,
Okay, I get
and
you.
they can
It's
project
like sort of like a
anything.
dome in an observatory, like the
Exactly,
TV
exactly.
screen. Yeah.
And they can project anything onto that screen, and they can program the backgrounds that they put on the screen to work with the cameras. So as the camera moves, the background moves as it would in real life. And
Mm.
that means that like all the reflections on any of the actors are perfect because the screen is exactly what would be there. All the
Mm.
lighting is like done by the screens. They don't have to worry about any of that stuff. And they've got like the main character is wearing like a super reflective armor, which they would just never do before because of the
Yeah.
issues with lighting and reflections and stuff. And I was just like, holy shit, that's incredible. Because Stanley Kubrick did it kind of for 2001,
Yeah.
where you have the Dawn of Man sequence, and that was big projections of photographs in the background of that. But this is like that, but next level with like the camera tracking and it's I didn't even notice when I was watching it. It was just like indistinguishable from real life, and it was
Mm.
amazing. And they also use all sorts of like classic Star Wars things. Like they've got models and like puppets and stuff just to fit in
Yeah.
with the thing. So
Well, yeah.
that's what I've been watching.
The thing I saw about Werner Herzog and stuff was talking about like how with Baby Yoda there was a very big insistence that it should be a practical puppet
Yeah.
because it's the
He
imperfections that make things
yes,
cute.
that was in the thing. So I think what that was they before he said that they did have a puppet, but they were using it for like 70% of the things. But Werner
Mm.
Herzog had a scene where he was like having to talk to the baby and stuff, and he was like, and he was
Yeah.
talking to this little like green screen thing, and he was like, we need to get the puppet
Mm.
in here. I think that's where that came
Yeah.
from.
Well, yeah, I
And
was
yeah, I
thinking
mean
because
that's like the
actually,
classic Star Wars stuff they're talking about.
because like the Frank Oz Yoda is a lot more endearing in how he moves compared to the CGI one, even though like it is objectively a worse
Yeah,
effect in terms of like being convincing movement.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it's
Mm.
yeah, it's good. And there was another bit where they were saying they built a model of the ship, and they just
Mm.
built the model of the ship to like show the CGI guys and the big set builders what they wanted it to look like.
Yeah.
But then they ended up filming one or two little sequences in like the classic Star Wars way of like having the model mounted on the background and like moving it and stuff.
Yeah.
And they ended up using it about like 2 or 3 times as much as they were planning on, just because it looked so Star Wars.
Yeah.
It was a very interesting behind the scenes thing. The technological advancements are amazing.
Yeah. And yet, perhaps in the background, there is a tale of technological advancements taking away.
Well, I feel
I'm
like
always
it's almost
skeptical
gone
about
full
this.
circle. Yeah, but I feel like the thing that that people ought to be skeptical about, or people are skeptical about, is like green screen and stuff, where you have actors, you know, reacting like the Life of Pi. He's reacting to, like, you see the behind the scenes thing. And it's just like a pillow, a green pillow on his lap.
Yeah. Or in
But what
the
we're
Harry Potter films, the hippogriff is like a tennis ball on a stick.
exactly. But what we're talking about is beyond that. That now. I mean, so within this volume thing, they have to build the set, so that's all real. And Taika Waititi, who directed one of the episodes, said that he actually walked into the screens once because he thought it was real. Like he was just walking on the set, and he just like kept walking, and just hit the like wall. It's amazing. It's amazing, man.
Oh, that's true.
So that's what I've been watching, and I've been playing Euro Truck Simulator 2 mainly.
Cool. You've never played that before.
I played. How many hours have I got on it now? Let me have a look here.
How would you rate
141.
Disney Plus as a service? Because I feel the issue is that there's not a huge amount on it that I would go out of my way to watch.
No, I'm gonna have it for this month and just watch everything, and then.
All right. Are you getting? Is this a free trial month?
No, it's a fully paid month, but like I'll pay £6 for the month, and then.
Yeah.
I don't intend to add it to my many subscriptions that I don't watch stuff on. You know, I'm kind of like, I've got it, and I'm gonna blitz through what I want to see, and then.
Well, that's exactly because like it has The Simpsons, obviously, which is an objectively very good show that I love very much. And then like it has The Mandalorian, which like I'm not the biggest Star Wars fan, but you know I'd watch it if it was on a service I already had.
Yeah.
And then after that, there's just not a lot on it that appeals to me.
No,
like I like Disney movies fine, but I don't seek them. You know.
Yeah, I think. I mean, for me, I would get it if I was going to do like a Marvel marathon. I would get it and just watch them all in that. If I was going to do a Star Wars marathon, like £6 is nothing to pay for all the Star Wars films. But for like, I cannot see myself in 12 months, having paid it for those 12 months and had enough to watch everything.
It's just I feel the issue with Disney is that everything they make has to be so similar in a way, just because they got to stick to the tone of the brand.
Yeah.
That I can't see it really having the same variety that you can find on Netflix or Amazon Prime, which is what makes those services good to have on sort of rotation, because like no matter what mood you're in, you can find something to watch.
Yeah. It was quite interesting because Disney Plus, I don't know, so it had a thing. It was like a Black Lives Matter event thing, of like Black Lives Matter films, and I would say like the first 3 were you know, like black stories, I think was like the title, and then the rest were just Disney films with black people in it, and I was kind of like, I don't.
And they didn't even have Song of the South, the cowards running away from their own legacy.
I was like, I don't really think that's the point. I don't know how you feel about that, but I don't like.
I don't think Disney has ever, and I don't think they can ever, by virtue of their brand, make a good film about race. I think Princess and the Frog, which I guess is the only one
that was
I've
one
seen,
that they had,
is not a good film from a racial standpoint. I think it
exactly.
Is quite bad.
It just has a black person in it. It's like, so if you go on Netflix at the moment, they've got their like Black Lives Matter section. And I'm sure,
but like Netflix at least has like Spike Lee films.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I'm sure there's films in that have issues or whatever. But you know, you look at it and you've got like a bunch of Spike Lee films, blah 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 blah. Whereas the Disney one, it was really like, I can't remember what the first 2 were, but I kind of thought, okay, they look like whatever. And then it was just like a couple of black characters, and I was like, I don't think that's really. I mean, I guess it's still black voices, it's black representation, but it just felt kind of like they were just trying to like force it, you know, like the force it in. I don't know.
Yeah, Princess and the Frog. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it's a very weird time because it's like set in New Orleans, and it does that Disney thing where like it's very much about celebrating the culture, but it also has to like have this like good white family who are like very rich, but like they love going down because you know she makes the best sugar pastries in town. They're good friends. She's really good friends because like her mother was like the white girl's aunt, so they used to play together and they love each other and they don't get what all this silly racism schmuckums is
Right.
about.
Yeah,
They're
and I feel like
just
a lot of the
pals.
films. I feel like a lot of the films are
Yeah,
going to be like that. Yeah.
because I don't think Disney with what's prepared to say can really say anything more about racism than just wouldn't it be nice? Why can't we all be pals?
Yeah.
And that's sort of all it can really say because I don't think it can ever really
Definitely.
discuss any heavy structural issues because obviously it's for kiddies.
Yeah, for kiddies.
So, yeah.
Although it did have the thing that I sent.
They're
to
also
our group
cowards.
chat.
I just want to be clear. They are also cowards.
They are. It did have that thing I sent to your group chat. That was like, Mr. Piggy describes money to Forky, and it was like a 5-minute Pixar short describing the entire U.S. monetary system, which was pretty funny. You know, taking on some big issues there.
I couldn't find them on YouTube, but there's some old Looney Tunes shorts where Porky Pig explains capitalism to Elmer Fudd in like a very
Right.
as opposed to communism way, which I find funny.
Good stuff.
Have you ever seen, again drag this down to the mud? Have you ever seen the short where Porky Pig says "bitch"? It's great.
No, that sounds good though.
Oh, I'm gonna send it to you. It's fantastic.
Nice. And viewers,
I've ruined the joke for you.
listeners can check it out. Okay, yeah, and as I said, I've been playing Euro Truck Simulator 2, which I now have 141 hours on, and that's just.
When are they gonna make Euro Truck Simulator free? I
don't think they will, man, because they're releasing updates for this one all the time.
Yeah, I get. It's just I feel like this game has to make so much money for them because everyone I know has it and plays it constantly. So it's just.
It's a great game.
Just like it seems weird that they wouldn't like. Because no one plays like
they're not
or like American Trucker or an African Truck Simulator or anything like.
This is the one. Euro Truck Simulator is the one, but it's because I genuinely think it's because the company is not evil. Is not made up of evil bastards. I think they want to make a fun game. They release DLC that genuinely adds stuff to the game, like genuinely adds sections to the game, and they know that enough people are going to buy it that they're going to keep making money off this game. And they're just going to keep supporting it. That's what I want to believe.
Yeah. Nice thing to believe.
Yeah, I really don't. I can't. They might bring out Euro Truck Simulator free, but then you look at companies like EA or Paradox that get shit for releasing loads of DLC and then just like ditching games and stuff. I don't think that was going to happen because I've been playing this game for years. And so I think it's
Although paradoxically, EA is supposed to be a very good video game company to work for comparatively.
Is it?
I think because I don't know if you've heard all the stuff about Naughty Dog and Crunch recently, as well as BioWare and Crunch, but and CD Projekt Red and Crunch. Basically, there's a big crunch problem in the games industry.
Right.
But EA and Ubisoft apparently are supposed to be very good to work for.
Was that because they don't fix their fucking bugs before they release it? There's no crunch because they just don't bother fixing their games.
I like
no, that's a little. That's a little dig. I don't mind Ubisoft or EA too much.
I feel that there is some sort of holy nirvana where you can probably have your employees work reasonable hours and do a good job.
Probably.
Maybe by making your games less fucking bloated. I used to say.
Talking about EA, they've announced Skate 4, which I.
Oh yeah.
On the one hand, I'm incredibly excited for, because it's long overdue, but on the other hand, it's pretty clear that they're only releasing it because there are now other skateboarding games people are playing and they want to get the grip on the market again.
I was about to say because like Tony Hawk announced a remaster of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2.
That's a very arcadey skate game. But
I'll be honest, it's the one of those two that I'm actually going to buy. But
right. Yeah. So there's a game called Session, which is like a realistic skate sim, and there's another one called Skater XL, which is pretty similar, sort of realistic skate game, whatever. And both of those came out in early access like last year, and they're currently still in early access, but nearing full release. And they've both been announced for a console release like later this year. And then EA comes out and announces that it started working Skate 4.
Well, yeah, actually, because EA did like that really annoying type of game announcement where it's just like, we have nothing to show you, but we promise we're working on the thing, which means it will be at least 5 years before the game comes out.
Well, that's the other thing, yeah. But it's really clear that they've done that purely because of these other games, which on the one hand is fair enough, but on the other hand, it's kind of like because people have been asking for these games for a long time, for Skate 4 for a long time.
Metroid Prime 4, which is the fourth entry in like the Metroid Prime series was like people were really wanting an entry for it. It'd been like it'd been I want to say 12 years since the last entry. Mm-hmm. And then like when the Switch was coming out, one of the first things they said was like, we're making a new Metroid Prime for the Nintendo Switch. We don't have anything to show you for it, but you know, we're working on it. Mm-hmm. That kind of announcement. And then maybe like sometime last year, they said a special announcement, and they were like, "Okay, guys, we're really sorry, but like development on Metroid Prime 4 has been going really badly. We're having to scrap the entire project and start again with new staff." So like at this point, despite the fact that it was like one of the first games announced for the Nintendo Switch, Metroid Prime 4 is probably going to be one of the last games released for it.
Released for it, yeah.
Which I feel shows the perils of announcing stuff too early.
Yeah, for sure.
See also literally anything Square Enix has ever done. But
yeah. So
I think most people don't really realize how long game development actually is. So when you announce something super early, it just makes it look super unprofessional when it takes like 4 years, even if that's like a reasonable time frame.
It takes a long time, especially for bigger games. So final word while we're talking about games. The Steam Summer Sale has started.
Yeah, I'm going to buy Trails in the Sky SC and nothing else because I've been spending a lot of money on games lately, and I like playing on console.
Yeah, I bought Zombie Army Trilogy.
Nice.
Because I played Zombie Army 2, and it was fun. And this is a remaster of 1, 2, and 3, so I think I'll just play through them at some point. It was on sale, and I don't know if I'm going to buy anything else. I was looking at my wish list. I did a big like clear of my wish list where I went, actually, like stuff that I had added like 6 years ago, and I was like, okay, I don't want that anymore. So I've now got a more like, the wish list. I still have a lot of stuff on it that I might never buy, but it's looking more like I can keep an eye out for deals and stuff rather than just this huge thing.
So but now that I own both a Nintendo Switch and a PS4, I can buy most games I want on Steam on console, which I much prefer. So I just have a dinky laptop. And like I also just just recently acquired 1,500 PC games.
Yeah. I think that's more than I've got, man. I'm looking at my Steam library and I've got like 600.
So well, like, they're all like RT games, so they're all like an hour or 2 hours long. But, like,
but I mean, a lot of mine are as well, or a good amount of mine. All right, well, I better call it there, I think.
Yep, that's an hour and a half, which is our max.
Thanks for listening. As we said,
we love you, all 5 of you.
As we said, I would recommend reading Catch-22. I personally would recommend watching the TV show as well. Cool. And Jamie is going to read the book for next week so that he can talk about it.
10-year anniversary.
All right. Well, bye guys. Thanks for listening.